Hello again, everybody. This is David Herzog coming at you with another Musical Talk mini episode. And just the other day, I had the good fortune of talking with Mr. Ollie Southgate as well as Mr. Christopher Bartlett. These are two gentlemen who are taking part in a show coming up on Sunday, October the 20th, at the Hippodrome here in London. It's a show called If It Only Even Runs a Minute, listed as an entertaining evening celebrating great musical theater that's been left unappreciated by today's audiences. So to tell you more about it, here are Ollie and Christopher. So Ollie, nice to meet you.
Yeah, you as well.
And so let's go ahead and get right into it by talking about what exactly the show is. Tell us about the name behind the title, the history of the piece, because this show originally started in New York, this concept of the show, correct?
Yep, correct, yeah. So it's If It Only Even Runs a Minute is a concert celebrating short-lived and underappreciated musicals. There's an F word that everyone's probably thinking of right now, which we never use, we don't go near it, and it's just really about musicals that didn't get a fair play the first time round, and getting them to have another go. Whether that's because they're, from the 50s and 60s and they haven't been revived, or, just from like the last few years and weren't sort of in major scale or didn't last very long. And we like to invite back original cast members, directors, authors to come in and talk about them a little bit and perform from them as well. And it's a really sort of intimate, personal experience.
Perfect. And this was a concept show that originally started in New York City. So how did you initially get the idea to do it over here?
So Jen Tapper, who sort of puts it together in New York and is a friend of mine, had been doing them since 2008, I believe they started. That might not be right, sorry Jen. And they've done 11 of them now, and I had seen 2 or 3 of those, and whilst I was over there on various visits, and I dropped her an email. I had a bit of sort of downtime and was looking for creative projects, and I always knew I loved that as a concept, and so I just spoke to her about it and said, we would love to start doing these in London as well, because the same sort of audience exists for them. And Jen, Kevin and Caleb, the 3 of them gave us their blessing, and we started them last year. We were out at the Landor in Clapham, so we've just moved into the Hippodrome for this one.
Which is exciting.
It is exciting. We've gone from a piano to a 5-piece band, which is going to sound really incredible. And it's a big sort of upgrade, and our first really out there, really sort of in the public concert, rather than just our friends and family coming in for a little chat.
Excellent. Now, how do you begin to pick which shows that you want to do for a piece like this?
So we kind of have a criteria, which is, for one thing, they can't still be running, and they can't be, if they ran recently, they can't be, we wouldn't do Viva Forever or something like that for a few years yet. We like to wait until the show sort of had time to maybe fall off the spectrum a little bit, so that we can really reintroduce it and get people excited about it again. But yeah, really any show. The New York series is very much about more historical stuff, so sort of anything sort of pre-2005, I think they'll cover, and back to sort of the 40s and 50s. And we've kind of taken a different slant on it in that we've brought these slightly newer ones as well that are just sort of, and as well as using the bracket unappreciated, we've kind of extended that to include yet to be appreciated.
Okay. So obviously there's a really interesting blend of different kinds of shows for this piece. You're going to be covering shows old and new, known and unknown. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so there's definitely the more historical ones that people aren't going to have heard of, unless these people are absolutely sort of devout musical theatre fans and want to know every single show. We've got the musicals Dance a Little Closer and Kelly, which both ran on Broadway in the mid-60s. Both of those closed on opening night. And they're not the only ones in our show that have that sort of...
That moniker.
Yeah, that moniker, absolutely. But the flip side of that is these shows never get heard and never get talked about.
Right.
So, they ran for one night in the 60s. People, sort of today's musical theatre community, aren't totally catching up with that kind of show. There's not going to be a revival or anything like that. So it's important. It's important to us that those shows get to continue to be heard. In 2013, just as they were in the 60s.
Excellent. What other shows can we come to expect besides
There's
those two?
More modern stuff as well. A musical called Dogfight, which ran off Broadway last year, but is yet to run in any kind of immense scale, and certainly hasn't come to the UK at all yet. We're sort of presenting some material from that as well. So we've got Lend Me a Tenor coming in, which was at the Guildford in 2010. And we've got Michael Matus and Damien Humbly from the original cast of that coming to sing the beautiful male sort of operatic duet from that, which is just going to sound amazing in a room as small as the Matchroom Room at the Hippodrome. And with that band and everything, I'm a bit too excited about that already. What else do we have?
Wedding Singer.
The Wedding Singer.
Okay.
The Wedding Singer is a musical that has... It sort of came and went on Broadway, not too quickly, but I think it was supposed to last longer.
Enough to make an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And had a UK tour a few years ago here, which was due to be a pre-West End, and it never finally got to come in. So we have Natalie Casey from the touring cast of that, who's obviously just finished up in 9 to 5 and all those cool shows. She's going to come and talk about her experiences touring with The Wedding Singer and have a good belt of a couple of her favourite songs from that. And again, the great thing about that is this is theatre sort of that was made for big houses, and we have the opportunity to do them kind of intimately and take a bit more time to turn the pages over and really talk about what the shows are, and why they exist.
That's perfect. So in addition to obviously the numbers that could be showcased in this piece, is there anything more that we can expect in terms of stories, speeches to the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So about 2/3 of the shows that we're doing come with a free guest from the who are from the original cast.
Right.
We have original cast members, authors, and directors, sort of across the range of shows, and they come and talk about the experience of putting X show together, and how for those ones that did only last a couple of weeks, there's always incredible backstage stories that nobody else gets to hear, that they're always really happy to share with us and talk about. So we're a bit crazy excited for that. One of the shows are actually featuring the Biograph Girl. Ran at the Phoenix in 1980 for about 2 weeks. We got an original cast member from the Biograph Girl coming to sing from the show and talk about some of the crazy things that happened backstage when they were trying to put that on. And it's great as well. And the presenters are myself and an actress called Lydia Grant. And we sit as well and talk through the shows and how the reviewers took them, and any well-known sort of anecdotes about them we get to share as well, which is good fun.
So we can look forward to more than just the music, obviously, but also some great rapport with the performers and the audience, and an interchange between them through the use of storytelling as
Absolutely. Well. And the official line is the rarely heard scores, backstage stories, and unseen photos of unappreciated musicals. So we run through all three of those things in great detail.
Excellent. It's all going to be a lovely blend for the audience.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can you tell us any more about the performers who are going to be in the piece? Who can we expect to see there?
Sure. So who have I gone over? I've done Natalie, Bailey, Michael, and Simon Bailey. Yes, we've got the delicious Simon Bailey.
The delicious Simon Bailey.
Absolutely. You can leave that in. So he was obviously, he's had a great career in shows like Les Mis and Phantom, leading those casts. And his West End debut was in Romeo and Juliet the musical at the Piccadilly in 2002.
Okay.
So he's going to come as well and sing from that and talk about that. I think that lasted about a month. So again, it's just this show that hasn't been recorded, hasn't been revived, and we think it's a kind of an important thing that those things get out. We also have Sarah Ingram coming to sing. She's just finished up in the Brixton run of Taboo and has done some other great shows, and she's going to come and talk about Murderous Instincts, the salsa musical, which ran at the Savoy in 2004. And she's warned me already that there are some outrageous backstage stories from that very short show, which I'm absolutely thrilled about. And again, there'll be a performance of a song that probably hasn't been performed since that show closed, which was almost 10 years ago. Who else do we have? I'm trying to remember.
Matthew Rowland.
Matthew Rowland as well, another delicious being. Matthew Rowland, also an ex-Taboo, during training was in Bat Boy, the musical. So we're going to have a little talk about that and do some songs from that.
Well, my name is Christopher Bartlett, and along with Oliver and Lydia, the hosts, myself and a lovely actress called Georgia Thomas formed, when the first edition was done last year, we formed the ensemble, as it was. So not all of the original cast guests or authors or directors can make it. And in lieu of that, Oliver and Lydia recruited myself and Georgia to be a kind of resident ensemble, I suppose is a good way, so that we can perform the numbers of the shows for the people who can't be there. Which means that every edition I get a lovely, cracking, big number to do, and this year it is from Kelly. It's about a bridge. That's all I'm saying. I'm singing about a bridge.
That's all you can say to whet our appetite.
It's basically about a love story to the Brooklyn Bridge.
Okay,
that's the way I'm reading into it.
Perfect.
But it is preceded by the most incredible stories from this cursed show, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
When it was done in New York, the stories, just the audience are in tears of laughter, just of unbelievable quotes from the press. They just hated it. They just hated it.
And from the unbelievable quotes from
the cast as well.
Because they all, people, those kind of actors and actresses can, on occasion, get a little bit bitter after something like that happens.
Sure.
You know what it's like. You fight so hard for this piped-up show that it's going to be the best thing, and then it is not.
And again,
it's not.
Well, again,
Right, sometimes.
Again, that's the reason we like to do the show, is because we like to, people have, whatever the broad public opinion of these shows are, people have put so much tireless work into making them,
so hard,
into getting them onto paper in the first place. So I think we think it's super important that those shows get a second round.
If the show was pushed aside so quickly just because people said, nah, not worth going to see, this is that show's time in the spotlight, and the show will get its time in the spotlight so very well in our show.
I think that's put wonderfully. I think that's one of the unfortunate stigmas of being in musical theater, is that sometimes if an entire piece is deemed unnecessary, not so good, or whatever words you want to be used to be polite in saying that it's bad.
Or if it just didn't grasp the theatre-going public's money.
Certainly, and that could be a big part of it as well, absolutely. And sometimes, as musical theater audiences or as people in the musical theater industry, sometimes those shows get so easily discarded, unfortunately, don't they? And sometimes there are so many wonderful gems in terms of songs, speeches, characters, storylines, that it's a shame that they're not brought to the public's attention, isn't it? And so it sounds like what this evening of musical pieces is going to do is bring those back into the limelight again, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we just think that's the reason we started doing them, and the reason Jen started doing them in New York as well, is because we just think that's an important thing, and that a show doesn't necessarily have to be over on closing night, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah, just because the audience didn't get to go and see it after the opening night doesn't mean that nobody should ever get to. And this is the kind of following that Runs a Minute has got in America, and Ollie's brought over here. It's time to delve back into the depth of the kind of journal of musical theatre history and pull out these wonderful, wonderful pieces and songs, such as, like you mentioned, Be Yourself from Lend Me a Tenor, which will just bring the house down.
Now, this is going to be performed at the Hippodrome on the 20th, and this is a relatively new space for musical theatre talent in this town, isn't it? So, have you seen the space already?
Yes, I've seen a few things there.
Have you rehearsed in it yet?
No, we rehearse on the day.
Excellent, all right.
We walk into the Hippodrome about 3 hours before the audience does.
Okay.
So that's pretty exciting, isn't it?
So how are you going to be adapting to the space?
Well, we know the stage we're working with, and we'll be in a rehearsal room for the day before and the week before as well, figuring out how we need to adapt to what we're doing. I mean, we were doing them at the Landor before, which is probably no bigger stage-wise. So it's going to be interesting. There's some things that are going to need a little bit of adapting, but I mean, it's too exciting to have the opportunity to do something in a venue like that, to be bang in the middle of Leicester Square, in the most cool, because I mean, it was only opened a year ago.
I think it's about 18 months old now.
Sounds about right.
I think it is only about 18 months old.
Just over a year ago, so it's this gorgeous, perfectly kitted out stage for immense performances.
Everything sounds fantastic there.
Yeah.
Everything that I've been to sounds wonderful. And it is glamorous. It is a glamorous place.
It really is a beautiful, glamorous space, yeah.
And the band that Barney has put together for the show will sound so fit.
So we've got a fantastic 5-piece band.
Led by Barney Ashworth.
Looked after by Barney Ashworth, absolutely. We've got new arrangements for a lot of the songs we're doing as well. Because I found out it's very difficult to get orchestra books for those shows. That were
sure, I can imagine,
so we've got some new arrangements for this fabulous band. I'm told we have Madonna's bassist. That's probably something to be excited about.
Okay, very cool.
Andy Pasca's our bassist, and he's worked with the best. And so it's going to sound great. It's going to look great. We're super excited to be going to some of that glamorous,
The Hippodrome's got a very good musical theatre following now. It started off, obviously the talk of the town was what it used to be. And then when it kind of got reborn last year or whatever it was, had a really good kind of jazz, and obviously it brought that back in. But there's been some good kind of musical theatre-based cabarets there, and hopefully we'll carry on that trend. And there's After Show, which is the kind of musical theatre game show, which is there kind of once every few months or whatever it is. And there's been some fantastic, like Shoshana Bean has done a great cabaret there. So it's got a good following as a building. So.
And you know what? The West End didn't have that space before, really. It had plenty of really fun, great cabaret bars. It didn't have a first-class West End cabaret venue. That people would, even the best of the best would be happy to go and sing at, and that's what it's become. So I thrilled to be there.
And will this evening of music, will it have a very cabaret-style feel to it?
Absolutely. I mean, we tried to keep it. We tried to keep it light. You know?
Yeah.
We tried to.
There's a lot of laughs.
There's
a lot of laughs.
Absolutely, a lot of laughs for the audience. But we also work. I mean, we've been working on this. Lydia and I have been putting this version of the show together since June, July. So it's been. There's a lot of. We make sure everything's well versed and ready to be performed in a space like that and in that setting. So it'll be hopefully smooth as oil.
Part of the show, when Jen does it in New York, is that they pull up behind, obviously, the two hosts, kind of almost giving a director's commentary. That's the way I view the show, is you're listening to, say, an album of spoken word about how these shows happened, and then you hear the beautiful songs, but it's like a running commentary, and there's thrown up on the screen behind the performers are images and quotes and the playbill front of these shows that didn't really survive on Broadway, and that'll work really nicely in the Hippodrome because it's a much bigger space. The Landor, it was a little bit kind of claustrophobic for the slideshow because everyone was straining upwards and seeing, but there's much more space here, so that will play a much bigger part, I think. Yeah. And it's nice so that people can see the images and kind of then picture in their head not just somebody singing from the show. They can see what the show is meant to be like on a much bigger scale.
Yeah, where we can this time, we've got some video footage as well.
Ooh,
new edition.
Very exciting.
It's a really nice way of celebrating these shows, having the quotes from the 60s and the press articles that people would pull up on their own time but then wouldn't necessarily get to share with somebody else.
It absolutely sounds wonderful. Like you said, it does really sound like a celebration.
Yeah.
And it sounds like one of those shows that, like you said, if you're in the musical theater community, you know the trials and tribulations of going through the ups and downs of shows that have been successful, not as successful, shows that will be remembered, some that have, fallen to the wayside. And to come together in one night and share musical numbers and moments from those shows, it just does sound very, very exciting, something that as a theater community you can share. Now, is there also going to be numbers in this that, for people who aren't necessarily members of the musical theater community, just people who are general members of the theater-going audience, will there be things in there that they will appreciate as well?
I mean, absolutely. The show is... I think you can take it in on another level as someone who's involved with musical theatre, or someone who's a big fan of musical theatre. But really, I mean, the performances are also outstanding from the people we get and from the guests we have, and it's just the entertainment value of the whole thing, is so great that it's absolutely for. I know this sounds really terrible. Absolutely for everybody.
Sure. Well, they'll be able to share in the experiences with the musical theater members.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, take pleasure in that with them and be a part of that world. No, we need to get to possibly the most important information. We need the details about where to get tickets, how to get tickets, details about the show, what day it is, what time it is, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. So, we are on Sunday the 20th of October. 2 performances, same lineup and songs and magic at both. It's 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. The show lasts about 2 hours, so you'll be out of there by midnight if you come to the 10 p.m. And it's tickets are available, cheap you can get them from £10, and they're on at hippodromecasino.com or runsaminutes.co.uk.
Excellent, £10, very reasonable.
Yeah,
I'd say it's a
Pretty
steal.
good.
Sounds like a perfect night for £10,
Absolutely.
and you get to go to a beautiful venue and see an absolutely
Very
wonderful,
good
magical show.
cocktails as well.
Great cocktails.
Very good cocktails.
That's the best ringing endorsement ever.
As soon as we finish at midnight, we are downing several of. It's going to be wonderful.
I like that you get your priorities straight. That's wonderful.
It makes the show go much better. No.
We know what's coming.
Excellent. Gentlemen, thank you so much for chatting with me. It's been wonderful to meet you both, and best of luck with the show on the 20th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And following that interview, Mr. Southgate did ask me to remind you that as this is a casino venue, to please make sure you have photo ID ready, just in case. Thank you very much for listening today, folks. Please do head along to the Hippodrome for If It Only Even Runs a Minute, showing on October 20th at 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Run along to their websites for more information, www.runsaminute.co.uk or hippodromecasino.com. Thank you, folks.